All right, Matt. We are now live and recording. Go ahead with
Live
the
to tape.
spiel.
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. This is another episode of Armchair Keepers of Arcane Secrets. I'm Matt Ryan, and that was Bob Geis. And this is our first special guest who's joining us, Sean Branney from HPLHS. Welcome to the show.
Hey, pleasure to be here. Nice to see you, fellas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sean, Bob, and I, we've known each other for a little while. Sean is this, and Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are one half of the masterminds behind many, many excellent projects.
Well, I'm not sure I can take that tag of mastermind, but I but I am one half of the engine that makes the HPLHS go.
And we're talking radio plays, films, and of course gamer props, which is what Bob and I are probably most familiar with because we are using them for our runnings of Masks of Nyarlathotep.
Nice. And how's that going for you?
I would dare say even further, Matt, I would never run Mask of Nyarlathotep without the Keeper kit. It's
Aw.
amazing. Amazing.
Kind of what's happening, Sean, is I'm trying to steer the players around what I think are some of the coolest props because I want to put them in their hands.
Hmm.
So we are that right there, that sealed evidence thing, that is dripping with information for the campaign.
That's actually one of my favorite props, and to me it actually is one of the best illustrations of what it is that Andrew and I are trying to do in terms of masks. When you buy it from Chaosium, it comes with the props, it comes with handouts for the players. You don't absolutely have to have our stuff, but their little prop for Dr. Houston's notes is like a paragraph. It's like 7 lines of text. It's all a clue. It's all actionable information, and it's no context. And when we were looking at what props from that they published that we wanted to rework in terms of our prop set, that was one that came to me as a great example, because it's like, for the players, it's just a clue. It just tells you to go do something else, and that to me is not good storytelling, and it's not how I like to play the game when I play it. So a set of notes between an insane psychologist and his insane patient is like a really interesting, fertile bit of storytelling ground. And it was so, to make it realistic, it needs pages and pages of text. The guy treated his patient for months and months. There's a whole evolution from the relationship when they met each other to when Houston's crazy enough to go, I'll go to Egypt with you. Sure. His whole involvement with yet another patient, there's this whole complex dynamic going on there. So it was like, okay, let's make something that really looks and feels like a therapist's notes, that has, the depth that goes through the journey between them. In terms of being a tangible thing, it was fun to seal it, as evidence, so the players get to tear it open and see something
Yeah.
that also we as human beings don't normally get to see. That's usually, privileged information. We don't know what they write in those notes. So getting to tell the journey of that relationship from the doctor's point of view was, to me, a really fun thing to do. And it took a while to write it. They're a pain to
Well,
make
yeah.
those things, and
Yeah, no,
yet,
but it's just, not to interrupt you, but it is just, it's fantastic. And I also really like the way that we see this side of Houston that's not really portrayed, like he's sort of a reluctant participant in this. And
sure,
I like
he gets drawn into the mystery. Yeah.
No, that's
in.
great. And we were just talking about this earlier, Matt, how those characters need to have more development. And this is, again, Sean, I haven't opened this, right? I'm not
Mm.
opening this until my players open this, so I haven't seen that. So I can't wait.
Right here, Bob.
Oh,
My players open it.
eh,
And I got to tell you, Sean, when I pass this out at the table, I've got 8 players, remember. The one sitting closest to me turned to me and said, under his breath, "That's really great." Like the whole, the deliverance and then the sealed bit and then the pages. He was just amazed.
Oh, well, that's nice to hear. We do strive for, both verisimilitude, so all the stuff we make feels authentically in world, and then, there's storytelling mileage in it. So the players can get more out of it than, the minimum necessary information to move them along.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic stuff, and it's not always a direct path. Like if you get the props as they come with the campaign, there's much less room for interpretation. And with your stuff, there is that greater degree of immersion through that interpretation. They have to make the right decisions and draw the right conclusions from that stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah, and even, newspaper clippings are another great example. For years we've been vexed by, a lot of clippings. It's just here's the important information, when you instead look at an actual, the front page of the paper, and it's like, hey, hang on, there's 12 articles
Or
on
the
there.
reverse.
Which one is the relevant one?
Yes,
And there's a back, exactly, and that's how, of course, people in this day and age don't read newspapers, but historically, that's how they worked. They had fronts and backs, and they
that's
had
right.
articles that covered lots of different topics, and you actually have to put in a little bit of work to realize, oh, what's the bit in here that's relevant to me? Oh, wait, this ties into my, oh, that's a guy who we know from our story. And then you suddenly realize that while this is going on, this is happening in the stock market, and the German government has just done this, and the whole world is happening. So that your players experience, they're experiencing a little corner of the 1920s, but we enjoy, just giving a greater historical context to what's going on, because I think, that's one of the great shortcomings of history education is people tend to learn, this treaty was signed on this date, this king and this, they married and they had this. And, that's not the important stuff about history. It's learning how to connect the dots and realize, oh,
Yeah.
wow, this was going on while that was going on. Oh, this corrupt government was just like the one we have now. It's because that's how history works.
Exactly. And it works perfectly for Masks of Nyarlathotep because Masks is, I'm discovering, sandboxy,
Mhm.
and you're going to spend some time playing it, and there's going to be a lot of role-playing opportunities. And here are just all these props that just give the opportunity for people to really get a nice juicy taste of the scene.
Well, we're glad to hear that it's working for you. That's why we make them. We want people to get out there and have fun with them. And, fortunately, most folks we hear from seem to feel like it really does add some juice to their games, and the players dig, being able to interact with, a book of matches that's really a book of matches. It's just
That's
more
that
fun.
is before you joined us, Bob and I were, we were competing about who's the bigger fanboy and all of the HPLHS stuff that we have on our shelves. Yes, he's wearing the gear. One of the things that I don't have that I wish I had, and this is not me asking, it's not, is the Day of the Beast packet you guys
Mm.
did. That I think that's long gone. And I've got bits of it, but oh, here he is.
Yeah, yeah, I got it. It's over here. I could get it if you want me to.
Yeah, and that one was sort of the first campaign level, that was kind of laying the groundwork for Masks. We did play the Day of the Beast campaign back in the day when it was called the Fungi from Yuggoth, and it was hugely influential. I mean, that's what turned Andrew Lehman from a law-abiding normal citizen into a crazed prop maniac Cthulhu guy. He had never heard of Lovecraft before coming over to my house to play in that campaign, and boy, did it set the hook. For both for him and others of our friends too, who have gone on to have lifetime involvements with all this. And so it was really fun to go back to that campaign now as grizzled gray adults, and create better versions of the props and the physical goodies that were so key in that particular story, and make a deluxe set. So it just, we sold out of those years ago. Um, but it was a lot of fun to find embodiments for the props that told that story. So
Oh, that's
No,
great
yeah,
stuff.
that's an amazing story. I mean, having played that, in your youth when you didn't have the resources to do this stuff, and then being able to revisit it when you could, that had to be a huge thrill.
Absolutely, and it's like, Andrew spent a couple decades being a professional prop guy for film and television. It's like the props we get to play with now are a lot better than the ones we played with when we were high school kids. And so it's fun to be able to, to take that expertise and the knowledge of, historical documents and typography and just what things were, how they looked to create something, again, that's immersive and nudges your players further into the game and makes this whole meta experience they're having more real, more emotionally plausible. You then tend to get better role playing. At least that's certainly been my experience. And
Yeah.
that's, anything that can some people are, natural role players and really good at it, and some folks really benefit from having some crutches along the way that help them buy into this artificial reality.
Yeah,
I've got two thoughts, and you tell me which one you want to explore.
Okay.
Because I want to talk about both of them, but maybe this is just what do we want to do first? You've run a lot of games, and I'm really keen on some of your keeper tips. I mean, we call this show Armchair Keepers. So do you have any back pocket tips that you have for other people that are just running games? And the other thought that I had is I'm really eager to know what you guys have been working on in your secret laboratory and what you're going to reveal. Because a little bird told me you have more prop gamer kit ideas coming.
Yeah, we do. So to start with the first part of your question, keeper tips. Chaosium published last year the book of keeper tips, and I was a contributor to that. And I actually really dig that book and really enjoyed reading it for a couple reasons. Sure, it's fun to see the tips that I suggested, there in print and available for other people, but I don't often play in a lot of other people's games. I tend to run my own ones, and I play in maybe one or two games a year, but not a lot. So I'm not all that well versed in how everybody else does it. I just know how I like to do it. So I found it really informative to read the tips that other, people who have played a lot of this game had to share. And in some ways, they're exactly on the same page as me. And I would read something and go, "Did I write that? I don't think I wrote that, but I might have wrote." That's the kind of thing I would have written because I fully agree with it. And then every now and then I'd turn the page and read one and go, what? Yeah, I that this other keeper is looking at it from a different kind of experience, dealing with different kinds of players. Um, so yeah, so anyway, I found that a valuable resource and useful. I think for me and the style of play that I like, I'm a theater guy. That's my background. My wife and I ran a professional theater company. We make movies, we do audio dramas. The play's the thing, and I really like the games I run and the games I play in to be dramatic. Drama is our friend. And to me, the rules are just a structure there to help us resolve whether when Matt fires his gun at the evil cultist, did he hit him? Did he miss? Did he go crazy when he saw the monster or not? And those are fun and dramatic questions in the game. And by having a rule system that helps us resolve and answer questions where chance or you just don't want the keeper to say, "Oh, you hit him. Oh, you missed," is kind of
Sure.
less fun than the player having agency and being able to at least roll the dice and see, how that worked out. But in my style play, I really, I want it to feel like a movie. I want it to feel emotionally satisfying. I want the drama and conflict and stuff breaking and the excitement of storytelling unfolding. Uh, and when I think of the best games that I've run and the best games I've played in, they usually have that as an underlying quality. They're dramatic, in the best sense of that word. And so then as the keeper, the challenge is to try and orchestrate that and facilitate that and to, help things feel exciting and get exciting as you're heading towards a climax. And when
Sure, sure.
when the players are off on a wrong path, then they're looking up stuff in the Hall of Records and they're not finding much because there's not much there to let that fizzle out and steer things back around to where then the momentum starts going and boom, we're back and our story is unfolding. And like I said, that sense of player agency is really important. They need to be able to make the decisions that they want to make, and that gives them the players a sense of agency and ownership of this collaborative story that you're telling. And then I think the keeper is a sort of, like the conductor of an orchestra to help things get the right
Yeah.
build in intensity and shape. So the story ends up having a satisfying dramatic feel to it. Too many words? Did that answer your question?
No, that was great stuff. That was great
Perfect.
stuff.
And that's not only is that the trick and the joy, that's also the thing I think that intimidates new keepers is, am I going to be able to do that? Am I going to be able to steer people back into the guts of the thing?
Yeah.
And my answer, of course, is yes, you will be able to do it. And it gets easier and it gets more fun with time.
Yep.
I totally agree. And, some scenarios do you a lot of favors and make that pretty easy. And some scenarios are, harder
A
to
little more complicated.
sure. And, something like Masks, it's an incredibly complicated story and it's
Boy.
really long. And so
Yep.
it's to sustain that level of interest and let each little sub adventure in it be a stair step upward. So it is gradually becoming more intense the further you go and the further the investigators get towards understanding what really happened in this story that they're trying to unravel.
Yeah, very good points. And thanks for bringing us back around to the point of this, the masks of Nyarlathotep.
Yep.
Yeah, we kind of got lost. Sean, what goodies have you got coming up for us fans at home?
So we've got a couple things in the HPLHS gaming division. One of which is in the mask set, we did a set of what we call audio props.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these in that particular set, in the Chaosium game books, there are what we call monologuing. Generally, it's an NPC gets in front of the investigators, and then the NPC goes blah 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 and tells usually some pretty compelling story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or, it's either compelling or useful, valuable to the investigation. So in Masks, we brought in a bunch of professional actors and we recorded those monologues. They range from, I think the shortest one's probably maybe 45 seconds, the longest one's maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and put in background sounds and things. So when you hear Professor Cowles, it sounds like you're in a lecture
Yeah.
hall at Australian University, and when the butler tells you what's going on, you feel like you're in the British countryside. And we've given a soundscape behind these, so it's not just some dude reading the monologue that's there. And they're optional for keepers. Some keepers are theatrical guys like me who would want to perform all those parts anyway, and some people are, that's not their bag necessarily. So being able to have a resource where suddenly you can hear something really quite challenging, like Warren Bassart's monologue, which is he's a guy speaking half French and half Arabic. He's totally insane and he's stoned. That's a difficult set of things to do all
Yeah.
at once. And we've, brought in a professional actor whose job is to, communicate the information that's in a book, but in a way that, feels personal and real and compelling. Again, it's got that realism. So
Yeah.
your players hopefully emotionally feel like, oh, he's a real dude and this is really happening and it's authentic. So all of that is to say we're taking that concept of audio props and applying it to a bunch of the other Chaosium books, like a
Nice.
whole bunch of them. The new Gaslight stuff, Mansions of Madness, the Time to Harvest, a whole slew of them, exactly, that we've gone through the sub scenarios and taken things like, a telegram, which a keeper might want to just do as a handout and hand the players the telegram to read, but we'll come in and suddenly have an actor playing the telegram boy saying, telegram for you, Mr. Ryan. Would you like me to read it for you? and then he goes ahead and reads it. So there's an audio version of lots and lots of props that are in world that keepers can use if they want, or again, they're completely optional, so nobody has to use them. But we're doing sets of them for a whole bunch of the Chaosium books. So
Oh, that's great. Oh,
yeah,
that's so good. You could do
yeah, we think
both.
it's a fun add-on. They're not brutally expensive. You can get them as a down. You'll be able to get them as a download. So
Yeah.
there's no taxes and postage and that sort of stuff. You just, get it. They're MP3 files. You can play them through a phone. You can play them through whatever kind of, tablet, whatever kind of widget you got that'll play sound files. But you'll get high quality sound files for, they said
Oh,
it's
that's
it's
great.
not every Chaosium book, but it's most of the major ones they've done in the last, say, 5 years. So,
Oh,
uh,
wow.
so that's coming. Um, and then we also here a year or two ago we created something called the Arkham Investigator's Wallet. That's a real
I have
physical
that.
wallet.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have that as well.
Bob's
I
got it, yeah.
used it.
So
I
yeah, it's a wallet filled with all the stuff a 1920s investigator might have in their wallet. And then we thought it would be even more fun to originally we just conceived it as a wallet for players, but we thought, oh, well, maybe if we wrote a game in which all the stuff in the wallet then are props in the game, that would be even more fun for players because then suddenly, having a library card is more than just a library card because it
Yeah.
it means something in the context of the game. Oh, the business card from this diner. Suddenly, this diner is a key location in the game. So, there's 40 or 45 props in the wallet, and they all tie together in this scenario called the dog walker.
And
Um,
and real quick, Sean, I
yeah,
run that scenario. It is amazing. And when you put that wallet out on the table and say, there it is, that's just it's amazing to see how the players engage with that prop. It is
Yeah,
astounding.
I've had the same experience that there's something intrinsically fun about being allowed to rummage through somebody else's wallet and suddenly finding their dry cleaning ticket and just all the little bits of
all
ephemera
these
that
treasures, all these treasures.
yeah, and here they all mean something too, or some are more important than others, but you suddenly reverse engineer somebody's life through
Yeah.
the physical artifacts that they left behind. It's an interesting process. So. So we've got a few new scenarios that come with deluxe prop packs that are
Uh,
in the works. So at Miskatonic Con, I'm going to be running a game I wrote called Eternity at Sea. Eternity at Sea has some interesting and fun props that go with it that we'll be offering as a set where you're not just buying the game book, but you're getting the batch of nifty stuff that comes with it. Then we have a bigger, more complicated game with a bigger and more, yeah, quite a bit niftier prop set that's called the Spark Devil. That's, I think, the second one in line. Maybe it may even be first. I don't know. Depends on how we release it. We haven't quite gotten to that yet. There's another one I wrote called The Ghoul of Gettysburg. It has a deluxe prop set. And then we have a really big prop set that's even bigger than the wallet is. It's bigger than the Day of the Beast set was. Um, that comes with an adventure, and it's all set at Miskatonic University. But it comes with a really nifty batch of stuff. So we've
that
got
sounds great. Now, how many years is this down the line? Is this all
well, you'll see
25?
probably two or three of them this year. Most of the groundwork is done at this point. The games are done. We have at least three games that have been written and play tested, and all the props worked out. We have one of the biggest and most complicated set. We're still working out some details in the game. It hasn't been play tested yet, so that one may or we're hoping by end of year this year, but that may or may not make that deadline. So, but the groundwork for the other ones is pretty well done. Um, a couple of them have weird manufacturing challenges because, as you know, we're not just dealing with newspaper clippings and photos and stuff that are now pretty easy for us to do, but we're getting into things like having coins minted and,
Yeah.
three-dimensional things that are harder to find and harder to manufacture, getting those made. So
But
Anyway,
boy, are
that's
people interested in those. There's
Oh yeah.
there's there's some stone carving that Bob is going gaga over because he does not have.
Yeah, yeah.
Bob,
The Eye of Light and Darkness.
yeah.
That is going to be. I am going to come back from Chaosium Con with that. That's a vow. I will do it.
That means we should ship one there for you.
it should
That's
probably
probably a
I
good
don't
point.
think we were planning to take any of those because they're incredibly heavy. But if you need one,
I
thanks for letting
guarantee
me
you
know.
will have one sale. One
There you
sale.
go. All right, I'll make sure we pack at least two into the box.
Yeah, no, I again, and so not all of your props, come with games, right? I mean, I have like this little Cthulhu idol here, which
Yeah,
does not come with a game, but it's
yeah,
inspiration for a game. Same way with this this gold
mm,
deal here. Doesn't
yeah,
come with a game, but it's inspiration for a game. I have
sure.
ideas for scenarios using those props, so it's amazing stuff. High quality,
Oh,
super inspirational.
glad to hear it.
Yeah, no, Sean. Thanks so much for joining us, and congratulations on all your success, my friend. You've won awards. I'm hoping the business is doing well. Every time I see you and Andrew, you guys are happy and cheerful. So it's got to be good news.
Well, like I said, we went to acting school, so we
Oh,
came happy
all
and
right.
cheerful.
Well, there you go. Could be
No,
miserable sons of bitches. We wouldn't know.
yeah, we feel so fortunate and so blessed to have this organization where we're surrounded by guys like you who we love and are fun to hang out with and have shared interests with, and we spend our days doing the kind of work we like to do, and we make products, and there's a community of people globally who are into this stuff, and it's enough to keep a little business like ours afloat. And we get to continue to to write and produce and direct and make props and tell stories, and at the end of the day, it's what we did doing. So we're very grateful to have the HP Lovecraft Historical Society, and we're grateful to dudes like you who help us share the word with other folks out there.
Well,
And we're
absolutely.
grateful for you.
Thank you, folks, for participating in our first special guest segment. Go ahead
Woo!
and go ahead and comment. Let us know if you'd like to see more of these special guest things. While you're watching this, the three of us are actually in Ann Arbor right now. Right?
Woo!
Probably having we're in our bathrobes by the jacuzzi, I imagine. uh,
Not sure about
Bob has
that, but
I'm so glad you're going to
Bob's.
bring a bathrobe this year, Matt.
We won't talk about that. Thanks so much, Bob. You want to do the thing?
yes. Okay. So you see, we have a special guest here. If there's any reason for you to not to like and subscribe, we don't know what else it is. Please hit that like, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, all the things. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
My pleasure, guys. Take care.
All right.